So is this crisis in West Asia now likely to expand and even escalate? Joining me on this developing story is Dr. Wael Awad. He's a senior political analyst and an international correspondent. Joins us on the show. Also with me is Ambassador Anil Trigunyat, former ambassador to Jordan, Libya and Malta. Dr. Awad, this conflict appears to be expanding in multiple directions and repeatedly. The current situation, is this a limited strike with a limited objective, or do you see wider strategic messaging here?
Well, thank you. I think the message is very clear here that the objective of destroying the Syrian army was achieved by bringing Ahmad al-Shara or Abu Muhammad al-Julani into the power in Syria by the Israelis and the American and the Turkish government. But now the second phase of destroying the infrastructure of the Syrian government and all these statues of the sovereignty of Syria, which have been existing since 1945. So by destroying the military bases and the defense ministry and the palace is a clear indication that Israel does not trust Julani, who is trying to implement its own policy in the region. As you know that the Golan is the Syrian Golan occupied 1973 war, and Israel have discovered oil in that. And the tributary in those oil goes 65 kilometers south of Syria, which means that is inside the Syrian Quneitra, into Suwaida, into Daraa, where the fighting is taking place. So under the pretext of protecting the Druze minorities in Syria, Israel is trying to occupy this part of Syria because they wanted to control the oil of Syria. And also, they don't want to see any military presence in that part of Syria because the ambitious plan of Netanyahu is to expand in the future.
Okay. Ambassador Trigunyat, is this also your appreciation? Is this just to address the Druze situation? Or, as Dr. Awad points out, there are wider strategic objectives, including securing the areas around that Golan Heights buffer zone and this quest for oil?
Of course, the protecting the Druze is essentially a ruse, and by Israel that is being deployed. They have already occupied the Golan Heights, which provides them the strategic advantage, the heights, the oil, as Dr. Abad mentioned. At the same time, Israel has not accepted al-Shara. He still considers al-Shara as a terrorist group, and he thinks that eventually they are going to come to fight with us. So there is, irrespective of the Americans' thinking, irrespective of the Arab endorsement of al-Shara, Israel has not reconciled to the fact. So they would like to create a demilitarized zone, occupy the southwest along with the Golan Heights. And as you know that the Israelis also have about 150,000 odd Druze people there. Many of them have been brought into their army. About 450 odd were killed, in fact, during this war with Hamas. And so far we have seen quite a lot of them. And this is something, I think it has nothing to do so much with this protecting the Druze in Syria. It is to create a division in the country. And as such, the country is divided because you have they had the problems earlier against the Alawites. Then you have the Kurdish
Shias, the
problem,
Sunnis,
and then
the
you also,
Kurds,
so many minorities, so what Israel is trying to do is controlling the whole area so that it thinks that it has created a buffer and it cannot be challenged.
Okay. Dr. Awad, in your appreciation, in the days and weeks ahead, now there are calls for de-escalation. They're saying that perhaps US said there was a misunderstanding. You heard the Israeli Prime Minister, he's asking Druze in Israel not to cross over to the other side, just let the IDF do their job. In your appreciation, do you see an escalation in the days and weeks ahead?
I don't see an escalation currently because you see, American President Trump needed the Abraham Accord, and now they are putting pressure on the tactic of reaching to peace agreement through the guns, and that's what Trump has been doing. And now Netanyahu is implementing the same thing. So therefore, applying pressure on the Syrian government to go for Abraham Accord and normalize relation with Israel, where they can surrender the Golan permanently to Israel without claiming that it is a Syrian territory as per the UN Security Council resolution in this regard. So therefore, there is definitely an escalation going to happen as long as al-Shara does not challenge the Israelis' ambition in the region or the American continuous support of Israelis' hegemony in the region. I think he will remain in power till his mission is completed. And I think that's an interim phase, and he will remain in power as long as they are able to use him for their own. But having said that, I would say that this attack on Syria, definitely it's a violation of international law, irrespective who is in power in Syria. This is a sovereign nation, whatever may come. And we know that the Israelis have been supporting and even treating the Daesh and Al-Qaeda and even Hayat Tahrir al-Sham during the civil war in Syria, 2013-14. And even we saw Netanyahu at the makeshift hospital in Golan treating these patients, shaking hands with them and sending them back to Syria.
Okay.
And after they gained control of Syria now, by the way, Gaurav, they have been paying salary since 2013 as well to the mercenaries and to these factions of the Islamists. Israel.
So
And
using
now,
the
after-
Sunni Muslim
Yeah.
radicals against the Shias of Bashar
Absolutely.
al-Assad. Ambassador Trigoniat, in your appreciation, is Israel opening too many fronts, or is Israel moving very systematically, degrading multiple threats, but one at a time?
Well, I think that Israel has really opened many fronts, but at the same time, it has also shown that with the support of the United States, it can handle all those fronts. And we have seen simultaneously it is killing people in Gaza. It is also taking on the West Bank. It's hitting people in Syria and Lebanon and elsewhere, and also continuing its problems with Iran. So I think that it has shown that it does have, despite all the stretches and stresses it faces, it has been able to handle militarily, it has been able to handle all these challenges so far. The other thing is that if you remember, then when Jolani came to power, at that time, the first thing that the Americans and the Israelis did was to completely demolish Assad's army and all its
Yes.
capabilities.
The
So
tanks,
therefore,
the
there was
aircraft,
nothing
the
really
entire
left.
military infrastructure was destroyed.
Yes.
The surface-to-air
Yeah.
missiles, most important.
Truly. So now, of course, they are not left with the kind of power that you need to fight back the Israeli army, which is very sophisticated. But at the same time, they will be stressed. They were stressed we have seen it during Iran-Israel war, that they were stressed to a point and they had to run to basically asking the Americans to intervene. So there is a limit to which they can stretch themselves. Besides, Netanyahu himself is facing a lot of domestic turmoil and
Yes.
problems there. So that will also be, the role of Druze in the Israeli society by itself also is important in a sense is that they don't consider themselves as Muslims per se. So they are
Yes.
more closer to the Judaism, Christianity, and other kind of, Ismaili system. So therefore, they can be a distant between the Arab and themselves. So that's what
So does
the
this help?
Israelis are trying to use it.
The last 30 seconds that I have on this part of the show, Dr. Awad, does this help, on the one hand, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to remain in power, irrespective of the domestic issues within the country? And two, what is your thinking? Will the current regime in Syria, under American pressure or to remain in power, finally cede the territory that Israel wants around the Golan Heights permanently?
Well, look, I think what Israel wanted, Netanyahu himself, he is unilaterally continuing this war to have because of his political career to survive in power. Secondly, there is a law in Israel also which is passed, does not even discriminate among the Druze. So if he thinks that he can use the Druze card in Syria because he wanted to protect them, I think he first should protect the Druze inside Israel, where he has already, they have passed a law which will have discriminations against them. So therefore, I think these are farce and these are a fake kind of a protection he's creating. The third thing is, which is important, Gaurav, is here the Syrian government has to survive. But the main objective of Israel is to break Syria, disintegrate Syria into small ghettos type of, so there will be a Christians, there will be a Druze, there will be Alawite,
yes.
and then you can claim and have the pretext that you need the Jewish state. So there is no question of Palestinian state at all inside Israel.
Is he succeeding so far in that attempt?
Well, he's attempting, but he cannot do anything. Israel cannot have the hegemony of a regional power in the region without the support of the United States. They cannot do it independently, by the way.
Which he does appear to have. Ambassador Trigoniat
Yeah.
and Dr. Wael Awad for joining me here on this India Today broadcast. Many thanks.